Sandra, thanks. Let's bring in retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, who served as National Security Advisor to former Vice President Pence. He's also a Fox News contributor. So here we are, a year after this disastrous pullout, in which hundreds of Americans, green card holders, Afghan allies were left behind. And yet, other than this remembrance that we've been doing for the last few days, this issue has been all but forgotten in the Biden administration's attempt to leave it behind and move on.
Yeah, it has, John. And John, thanks for having me today. Look, it's not the only debacle they've had that they've just walked away from. I don't care if it's immigration or Afghanistan, or probably what's going to happen in the Ukraine as well. But they had, there was actually the disturbing fact about Afghanistan, it was entirely preventable. There was actually a plan there, and General McKenzie said that this last weekend, the four-star commander, Marine commander.
Yeah, great interview that Jane Griffin did with him.
Yeah, and he said, look, there was a plan. We were going to go to 2,500 hold. We were going to hold Bagram. We had 3,000 plus paramilitary. We weren't going to walk out on them until there was a deal between the Ghani government and the Taliban. We said that all along. And by just arbitrarily saying I'm leaving, and I know Frank McKenzie very well, when Frank gives you his advice, it is blunt. It is straight to you. And I know he gave Biden that advice because he gave Trump that advice as well. And we said, okay, we understand it. We understand where we're going, what we need to do. And they just violated that. And as a result of that, they had 13 dead Americans at Abbey Gate. Interestingly, remember, John, the year before that, the entire year, once we came up with the Doha Agreement, not a single American was killed in Afghanistan in 1 year of that agreement. And then we had the pullout. And there was a chance, because the Taliban said to us at the time, remember, look, if you want Kabul, you can have Kabul. You take it and get out of there. And we said, no, we don't want to do that. Yeah. Well, that's what we should have done. We should have gone in there and said, we're going to leave when we want to leave, when all the Americans are out, all the SIV holders are out as well. But we went out of there in a rush, and you saw that picture of C.D. Donahue, the commander of the 82nd, getting on the last C-17.
Yeah, that's a haunting photograph, no question about that. You mentioned the 13 service members who were killed on August 26th, a year ago. This is what President Biden said after that suicide explosion. Listen here.
To those who carried out this attack, as well as anyone who wishes America harm, know this: we will not forgive. We will not forget. We will hunt you down and make you pay.
We will hunt you down and we will make you pay. Yet ISIS-K has not been hunted down. They've not been made to pay.
Yeah, well, here's the more interesting part of that. We talk about the government now in Afghanistan. The leader of their internal security, the guy who runs the security for the entire state, is Suri Haqqani. Haqqani is a global terrorist designated.
Who was harboring Ayman al-Zawahiri.
That's right. And he had a $10 million bounty on his head from our own FBI. And he ran the Haqqani terrorist network. And he's run the internal security. That's probably a guy we should have taken out as well. Yeah. These are all bad people. It's like the hole-in-the-wall gang of the West. All the terrorists of the world are going to assemble in Afghanistan, and we're going to have to keep looking over our shoulder as a result of this.
I want to get your thoughts on this, because there's also been no accountability for this disastrous pullout. We had the father of Marine Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor, who was one of the 13 who was killed last August 26th. Here's what he told Sandra yesterday. Listen here.
I'm infuriated that up to this point, nothing, no responsibility, no accountability has been taken for the, let's face it, the botched way that this occurred. Our kids, those Marines, the Army, they were all put in an untenable situation through the administration, through the State Department, and there's no excuse for it. There's none whatsoever.
The father of Darren Taylor. So you had two children who served in the military in Afghanistan.
Right.
You've got to understand what his parents are going through.
Oh, look, absolutely. Look, first of all, the men and women in uniform, they did their job. They did what they were supposed to do. Here's where the pushback needs to be. The President of the United States is Commander-in-Chief under Article Section 2 of the Constitution. He's responsible for that. He got all the recommendations he got from the military commanders. He ignored that. His National Security Advisor ignored it. His Secretary of State ignored it. They own this. Joe Biden owns this. Sullivan owns this. His Secretary of State owns this. They all own it because they violated all those military precepts that were recommended for them to follow.
General, good to get your thoughts on this on the anniversary. Appreciate you coming in today.
Thanks, John.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.